People still whisper to one another that, on the brightest full moon nights by the shores of Water Willow, a shimmering golden light can be seen flickering beneath the waves, not the reflection of the moonlight, but the scales of a mermaid. Donna, a breathtakingly beautiful creature with a tail that glimmers like precious metal, abandoned the depths of the ocean to live among humans. No one in the village knows where she came from, only that she is gentle, talented, and possesses an otherworldly beauty that leaves an unforgettable impression on all who meet her. But love for a human always comes at a cost. And on the very day of her engagement to Chief Malik, a man revered by the entire village, Donna's secret is exposed in a way no one could have anticipated. When the truth comes to light, will love be strong enough to keep her there? Have you ever heard of a mermaid who disguised herself as a human and nearly married a chief? In the coastal village of Water Willow, where legends and reality intertwine, a secret has slumbered beneath the waves until love awakened it all. This is the story of Donna, the mermaid with shimmering golden scales, who chose to live as a human, love as a human, but could not forever hide her deep-sea past. All right, my dear audience, get ready for a story that will leave you in awe. Take a second to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below to let me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always exciting to see someone joining us from all corners of the world. Once upon a time, in the warm waters along the southeastern coast of the United States, where the Gullah Geechee community thrived, there was a place no mortal could reach. A world beneath the ocean that opened its doors only to those who carried the bloodline of the gods. There, Donna was born, the only daughter of Imbali, the sea goddess of gentleness, protection, and transformation. From a young age, Donna was different. It wasn't because of her long, shimmering tail that gleamed like sunlight on the waves, nor was it her flowing, curly hair that swayed like seaweed in the rainy season. Donna bore a sacred mark, golden scales that glowed faintly whenever her heart touched a true emotion. It wasn't a radiant or dazzling light. Instead, it was soft, like a candle's glow in the morning mist, a light only the perceptive could sense. Whenever she felt sadness, anger, happiness, or longing, the skin on her hips and shoulders would shimmer, as if whispering to the sea. But despite this strange beauty, despite being raised among the royalty of the deep, Donna did not feel she belonged there. The ocean, vast and mystical as it was, had its own rules, cold, rigid, and unbreakable. Each passing day brought lessons about order, hierarchy, and loyalty to her divine origins. But Donna's heart, gentle and full of yearning, turned elsewhere. To a place where sunlight warmed human skin, where human voices rang out in bustling markets, where laughter could be loud without needing permission. From the deepest parts of the ocean, she would quietly swim up near the shore, hiding behind ancient coral reefs or swaying seaweed fronds. She watched humans live, truly live, with joy and unhidden sorrows. She observed women laying out goods on woven mats, laughing with each other, turning even the smallest exchanges into stories. She was captivated by children running freely, their feet caked with dirt, yet grinning widely, and she longed to know the feel of earth beneath her soles, the trickle of sweat down her neck under the sun, the warmth of an embrace in times of sorrow. She didn't want to be the daughter of a goddess. She wanted to be a woman, ordinary, living an ordinary life. Mbali, her mother, sensed this. But a goddess's love is often stern. The goddess believed Donna's destiny was to protect the ocean, to carry on the sacred bloodline, not to abandon it for fleeting weakness. But for Donna, it was no longer a choice. It was what her heart whispered each night, what made the golden scales on her body glow whenever she looked toward the shore. Then one day, the sea was strangely calm. Donna swam farther than she ever had before. In her heart, the question was no longer could I, but a clear whisper, I must live like them, even if just once. And that was when fate began to stir. Donna didn't yet know that this decision would not only change her life, but would also shake an entire village on land. As the sun just began to rise on the horizon, Donna emerged from the ocean. The waves receded gently around her like a final parting embrace. Her golden-scaled tail, once a core part of her being, dissolved into slender bare legs, trembling as they felt the touch of the land's breeze for the first time. Her skin dried under the early sunlight, but it wasn't uncomfortable. On the contrary, it brought her a strange sensation, a very human one. She had cast a spell, an ancient one taught by Mbali when she was young, but with a warning to use it only in dire circumstances. Donna whispered the incantation like a prayer, and the magic quietly took hold. Wrapped in a coarse cloth, Donna took her first steps onto the red sand, where the outskirts of Water Willow Village began. The breeze carried the earthy scent of palmetto forests, wood smoke, and the faint musk of soil after the previous night's rain. It all made her heart race, not out of fear, but from pure emotion. After years of watching from afar, she was now part of this world. Water Willow was a small but vibrant village nestled in the coastal plains of South Carolina. Its people, descendants of enslaved Africans who had reclaimed this land, carried a culture, tradition, and resilience as deep-rooted as the trees anchored in their ancestral soil. Donna had no surname, no papers, no history, but she had something else: skilled hands and a soul full of determination. She built a small stall by the village market. Without fanfare, she hung a few dresses she had sewn herself, each stitch as meticulous as an ancient song her mother used to hum beneath the sea. It wasn't long before the villagers' eyes turned to her. Not just because of her striking appearance, her shimmering brown skin, and long dark hair that cascaded like sea moss, but because of the quiet way she existed. Unhurried, soft-spoken, yet brimming with patience and kindness. She didn't talk much, but she always listened. People came out of curiosity and stayed out of affection. Her dresses were unlike any other, simple yet somehow comforting, especially those who wore her golden fabric, cloth she wove from sea silk, the only thing she brought from her old world. That golden fabric was more than material. It was a blessing. Whenever Donna sewed it into a collar, sleeve, or hem, a gentle energy seemed to spread. Those who wore it said they felt calmer. Old backaches seemed to ease, sleep came deeper. Children who wore it cried less. Though Donna never explained, people began to believe she carried a kind of healing energy. Though living among humans, Donna didn't rush to blend in. She was present like water seeping into soil, slowly, naturally, without force. But day by day, she became an indispensable part of Water Willow. The village market grew livelier with her there. Donna's dresses, embroidered with wave-like patterns, began appearing at festivals, weddings, even funerals. People said wearing her clothes brought good fortune, but for Donna, each stitch she sewed wasn't meant to impress. It was a thank you to the land that had given her a new life. In the early morning, the Water Willow village market burst into life like a swelling chorus. The rhythmic clanging of hammers at the blacksmith's forge, the clear calls of mothers displaying baskets of ripe fruit, the bright laughter of children running along the red dirt path. The August sun shone down on colourful fabrics hanging loosely in the breeze, like sails fluttering in the wind. Donna was at her usual spot, beneath a canopy woven from dried palm fibres. She was carefully threading shimmering golden strands into the hem of a dress, her hands moving as lightly as if skimming across water. The light from her embroidery wasn't dazzling, but it held a certain allure, causing passers-by to turn their heads unconsciously. Malik had just entered the market. He walked neither fast nor slow, carrying the air of someone who had suffered loss, yet still had to remain strong. After the sudden death of his father, the chief revered by the village for 3 decades, Malik was forced to take on the role despite his young age. The weight of such a towering legacy left him with little peace. The villagers looked to him with hope, but he was still searching for himself amidst unspoken rituals and expectations. That day, Malik had no clear purpose. He simply wanted to blend into the crowd, to breathe in the scent of fresh earth, the aroma of lemongrass simmering in someone's stew, and to feel like a true part of this place. Then he saw her, not immediately. His eyes briefly passed over the simple cloth stall, catching a glimpse of a slender figure with long hair cascading over her shoulders, bent intently over her work. But as he started to turn away, something drew his gaze back. It was the light, not the light of the fabric or the thread. It was a kind of light from her. Whether it came from her smooth brown skin, her hands moving rhythmically, or the way the sunlight filtered through the palm fronds onto her face, it all blended into an image that made time seem to pause. Donna looked up, her eyes meeting Malik's by chance. She didn't smile, but her eyes said something, a silent greeting, gentle yet steady. Malik stood still, as if drawn to her by an invisible thread. It wasn't because she was beautiful. There were plenty of beautiful women in the village. It was because she was so profoundly quiet, like a strand of seaweed at the ocean's depths, soft yet resilient, separate yet part of the water. He approached, unsure why. He only knew that each step felt like moving closer to a mystery, yet to be named. Donna noticed. It wasn't the first time someone had looked at her for so long, but Malik's gaze stirred something within her. Not fear, but the sensation of someone brushing against a deeply hidden part of her soul. There was something about him that made her realize she wasn't entirely alone here. They didn't say much. A few polite exchanges about fabrics, a few courteous words of thanks. But the silence between them wasn't awkward. It carried something unspoken yet profound. When Malik left, still holding a small handkerchief she had given him, he felt an odd lightness in his heart. As for Donna, she watched his figure disappear down the market path, a feeling rising within her that she had never named. Not love, not longing, but something that could make the golden scales hidden beneath her cloth garments glow faintly. If you feel a touch of peace, a bit of sincerity in this story, please comment the number 1, subscribe, and let me know. Where are you? And what time is it? Where you live. We're connecting not just through this video, but through our hearts. Since the day she met Malik, Donna lived with a feeling both warm and fragile. His smile, his deep gaze that seemed to pierce through every facade, stirred her heart in ways she couldn't explain. She hadn't sought it, nor dared to hope for it. But it came, light as mist clinging to eyelashes at dawn, and just as easily dissipated if someone brushed too close. Life in Waterwillow continued to flow like a gentle river after rain. Donna still wove her fabrics, still smiled when villagers stopped by to buy her hand-stitched dresses threaded with golden strands. Malik visited the market more often by chance. And people began to talk, but with affectionate whispers, that the young chief seemed to have found light amidst his heavy days. But then, the full moon came again, For Donna, each full moon was a silent cut through the seemingly settled life she had built. No matter how hard she tried to live as a human, she could not deny the divine blood coursing through her veins. And on moonlit nights, when the sea and sun traded roles in silence, the magic within her surged like an uncontrollable undertow. She knew what would happen if she didn't let her body return to its true form. If she resisted, the magic would backfire, not only destroying her, but possibly shattering everything she cherished on land. So that night, like many before, Donna quietly left her hut when every oil lamp in the village had gone out. Barefoot on the damp sand, she slipped through the rows of palm trees, passing the small forest that led to the bay. The moonlight stretched across the water like silver silk, the waves whispering as if her mother, goddess Mbali, were calling from afar. When she reached the water's edge, Donna gently shed her cloak. Beneath it, hidden under the coarse fabric, was the golden scale, the essence of her mother's blood and the ocean's magic. It remained there like a second heart, glowing faintly when emotions swelled. She pressed it to her chest, took a deep breath, and let herself sink into the cold water. Instantly, the magic awoke. Her legs transformed, silent and beautiful. Her tail reappeared, soft as silk, shimmering like a sunset reflected on the waves. Donna swam slowly, letting her body merge with the sea as if returning to herself. Under the moonlight, she was the true Donna, unhidden, no longer wearing a borrowed form. But this time, she was not alone. Hidden behind an old palm tree by the shore, a pair of sharp, aged eyes watched her every move without blinking. Mama Ama, Malik's mother, a woman who had lived through 2 generations of chiefs, renowned in the village for her powerful intuition and a gaze no one could hide from, had been quietly observing Donna for weeks. Something about the girl troubled her, not just her appearance but the way she moved. As if every step carried a suppressed longing. She had seen the faint golden glow on Donna's wrist when sunlight pierced through her fabric, and more than anyone, she knew that some things did not belong to the land. When she saw Donna dive into the sea, the golden light fracturing into thousands of sparkling droplets, Mama Ama held her breath. The sight froze her in place. Before her was no longer a village girl, but a sacred being, something that existed only in the lullabies of her ancestors. Donna, the girl her son was growing to love, was not human. That day, the sky was strikingly clear. Not a single cloud, not a gust of wind to sway the rustling palm fronds as usual. The sun stood high, but its warmth was gentle, as if veiled by a thin layer of gauze. The entire village of Waterwillow buzzed with excitement, gathering at the central square, adorned with flowers, draped with fabric, and lined with white seashells along the path. The engagement ceremony of Malik, the young chief, and Donna, the girl who came from nowhere and swiftly became part of the village's heart, was a rare occasion. People talked. People prepared with fervour. Every braided palm frond, every dress chosen for the day, bore Donna's touch, stitches that seemed to speak, carrying a message of peace to each person. Donna stepped forward, neither haughty nor afraid. In a white dress threaded with faint golden strands, she seemed to glow from within. Her dark hair was neatly braided behind her back, her face tilted to catch the sunlight, her deep eyes holding the essence of the entire ocean. Her heart pounded beneath her dress, not from anxiety, but from hope. Hope that, despite her secret, she was still worthy of love, of belonging. Malik stood waiting for her, his face more radiant than ever. His hand tightly gripped a palm fibre cord, the chief's symbol of commitment, which he would soon tie around her wrist as a mark of their bond. His eyes couldn't hide his pride. and something close to absolute trust. The ceremony began, the deep thud of drums resonating from the corner of the square. The elder stood between them, raising a dried palm frond to bless the union, and with a hoarse voice, Ishis, he chanted the ancient opening words, ones that had witnessed countless generations of love and commitment before the community. Then came the moment when Donna placed her hand in Malik's, ready to speak her vow, and everything shattered. From the edge of the crowd, a figure stepped forward slowly. Mama Amma, Malik's mother, held an old clay bowl, her steps heavy yet resolute. Her face showed no anger, no outrage, but a heartbreaking calm. All eyes turned to her, whispers falling silent. Donna turned and time froze in her gaze. She only had time to see the bowl tip. A stream of clear water pouring over her shoulder, soaking through her neckline, seeping into every fibre of her dress. And then, what could no longer be hidden? Where the water touched, golden scales began to glow. Faintly at first, like stray sunbeams caught in thread. But then they spread, rapidly, blazing with a brilliance that dazzled the eyes. The fabric seemed to dissolve under that light. Her tail emerged, long, sleek, its layered scales shimmering like an unmined treasure. A sight of awe, but also a staggering blow. The silence that followed was heavier than a scream. Then, from somewhere, a gasp broke out. Villagers began to step back, murmuring in fear. Some covered their mouths. A child burst into tears. Someone cried out, "She's a mermaid!" Malik stood frozen, unmoving. His eyes widened, seeing her as if for the first time. Donna was no longer the girl sewing dresses under her canopy. She was something else. Mythical, mysterious, and terrifying in a way humans had not learned to accept. Donna clenched her hand, trying not to tremble, not because she was exposed, but because of Malik's gaze, no longer radiant as it had been that morning, but heavy with something more complex than fear. Betrayal. In an instant, the engagement ceremony turned into a silent trial, and Donna, a creature of the sea, was torn from the dream she had barely grasped. But that dream wasn't over, not while her heart still beat with the rhythm of a human learning to love with all her true self. The night sky seemed to carry sorrow. Clouds gathered in cold grey clumps, not raining but heavy with oppression. Donna fled from the square, her bare feet tearing through dry branches and sharp stones, leaving behind the shouts, the bewildered stares, and the unspoken sigh of the man she loved. The white dress she wore was now stained with dirt. Her skin, once warm in the morning sunlight, was now steeped in the chill of the late night and the sting of shame. But what hurt her most wasn't the villagers' fearful gazes or their whispered prejudice. It was the moment Malik's eyes rested on her, no longer warm, no longer gentle, just a heavy silence from someone who had lost what he trusted most. She ran, through the forest thick with the scent of decaying leaves, to a place where lamplight could not reach. Her heart pounded, not just from exhaustion, but from shattering into pieces. Malik, behind her, didn't stay to calm anyone. He abandoned the broken ceremony, his role as chief, and chased after her traces through the dark forest. His mind was a storm. He couldn't understand. What was Donna? Who was she? But above all, he knew one thing: he couldn't let her disappear. He called her name into the mist, not expecting a reply, only hoping she could still hear. Then, as his feet began to lose their way among the gnarled trunks of ancient trees, he caught sight of a faint light flickering like fireflies. It came from a massive tree. its roots so old they rose above the ground like writhing dragons. The light wasn't from the moon, but from a small charm dangling beneath a branch. And then she appeared. From the shadows on the other side of the tree, a woman stepped forward, her hair wound into a messy bun like seaweed, her cloak embroidered with patterns of sun and water, her black eyes deep as if they had seen the barest souls. She introduced herself in a hoarse voice. Ma Wu, the wanderer between the realms of humans and the ancient spirits of the sacred forest. She didn't ask what he wanted. She already knew. And she spoke of a stream, soul water, that not everyone could drink, and none could drink with a half-hearted spirit. Once drunk, it would undo the old magic. If the one who bore that magic truly wished to stay, to become human, forever, the water would obey. But if they still held regrets, still wavered, the water would turn to fire and consume their very being. Malik stood silent, listening. For the first time, he understood the weight Donna carried, unknown to anyone. And now she was wandering in the forest, bearing not only her own pain, but that of all who had ever longed to be loved without being their true selves. The dawn that morning rose slower than usual. The first light didn't filter through the palm fronds, but lingered at the forest's edge, as if waiting for something momentous to unfold. No one in Water Willow slept soundly that night. They whispered, argued, feared. The story of Donna, the mermaid who hid beneath dresses and gentle smiles, spread like wildfire through every home. And, as an ancient instinct, people feared what they didn't understand. But as the sun finally broke through, they gathered. Without being told, they stood around the village square, where the engagement ceremony had shattered just days before. No flowers, no drums, no music, only anticipation. Into that space, Donna stepped forward. She no longer wore intricate fabrics or hid behind golden threads. Today she was dressed simply, a thin white shawl draped over her shoulders, her bare feet pressing into the village soil. But her eyes shone brighter than ever, not with the glow of magic, but with the light of someone who had chosen to live truthfully, no matter the cost. Beside her stood Malik. He didn't hold her hand or speak a word, but the look he gave her was a silent, steadfast promise that he stood with her, not because she was human or mermaid, but because she was Donna. Ma'u, the sorceress, had prepared the ritual. On a stone table in the centre of the square sat a rough-hewn stone bowl. Inside it was the soul water, clear as crystal yet rippling as if it held an entire universe within. She said nothing, only nodded as Donna approached. Donna bowed her head, closing her eyes. She knew there was no turning back. The deep ocean, once her home, where her mother had lulled her with waves, would never welcome her again. But love, if deep enough, needed a true home, where people could touch each other's hands without hiding a part of themselves. She lifted the bowl, took a long breath, and drank. Instantly, her body convulsed. Her skin flushed red as if a hidden fire surged within. Her mind reeled, her heart pounded fiercely. She fell to her knees, hands pressed against the earth, her breath coming in gasps. The villagers flinched, stepping back, many with panicked eyes. They thought she was transforming, that her tail would reappear. But no. The magic didn't erupt. There was no blinding light, only a slow stillness, like a breath released after pain. Donna looked up, sweat beading on her forehead. Her white dress remained intact. Her legs, human legs, still touched the ground, trembling but steady. And then something extraordinary happened. A child stepped forward, lightly touching her hand. No crying, no fear, just looking at her as if she were an old friend. The fear in the crowd began to crack. A woman stepped forward, then an old man. They looked at her closely. They saw clearly. Donna no longer carried magic. She was no longer a creature of legend. She was human. In flesh, in blood, in the pain she had just dared to face. Their gazes began to shift, from wariness to admiration, from doubt to quiet acceptance. And then Mama Arma stepped forward. Her hair was neatly bound, her hands trembled slightly, her steps slow, as if crossing her own prejudices. She looked at Donna for a long time. Her face no longer held the sternness of a protective mother, but the sorrow of someone who had hurt another out of her own fear. Before the entire village, she bowed her head. There was no justification, only a whisper of an apology, soft as a breeze, but enough to resonate in everyone's hearts. The morning sun wasn't harsh, nor was it still. It cascaded over Water Willow like a warm silk ribbon, gilding the fields and the thatched roofs peeking from the hillside. No one spoke it aloud, but everyone felt something sacred unfolding, as if the land, the trees, and the very air were whispering a song once cherished by their ancestors. That was the day of Donna and Malik's wedding. It was no longer the interrupted engagement, nor the silence of doubt. This was a true celebration, where every home opened its doors, every heart brimmed with joy. The villagers donned vibrant attire, dresses embroidered with golden threads like the new beginning Donna had brought. Flags hung in rows, cords woven with seashells, cotton seeds, and palm leaves swayed gently in the sea breeze. Drums resounded from early morning, not somber, but joyful, calling for a return, heralding something new. Donna stepped forward between two rows of waiting villagers. She was no longer the stranger from nowhere. She had become part of this place, like roots sunk deep into the earth, like a song etched into the community's memory. Her wedding dress wasn't the opulent gown of far-off fairy tales, but each stitch bore the mark of time, sewn by her own hands, woven from the faith she held for this place. Malik stood beneath a canopy of palm fronds, watching her approach. His eyes no longer held the hesitation of a young chief, but the steadiness of a man who had dared to choose love, even if it meant facing every fear within himself. He wasn't marrying a perfect woman. He was marrying someone who had surrendered her past and her pain to be her true self beside him. The wedding unfolded without rigid rituals. No priest, no holy book, only simple vows, spoken through their eyes. And when Malik tied the palm fibre cord around Donna's wrist, as was the ancient custom of the chiefly line, the village erupted in applause. Not to honour power, but to celebrate two souls, once divided by fear and prejudice, now united through sheer courage. From that day, Donna became an inseparable part of Water Willow. She continued sewing dresses, but no longer hid beneath layers of fabric. She went from house to house, teaching children how to weave golden threads into symbols of blessing. She learned to cook the sweet stews of the village elders, learned to greet the moon as a ritual of gratitude to the earth and sky, rather than a moment of fear that her tale might reappear. Each festival season, the villagers shared Donna's story. They no longer called her a mermaid, but the keeper of light, the one who chose love over power, humanity over divinity. In the eyes of the children, she was proof that difference wasn't dangerous but a gift, if one opened their heart to receive it. Deep beneath the sea, the golden scales no longer glowed on Donna's body. But sometimes, people said, On clear moonlit nights, when the sea breeze swept through the palms, a faint light flickered offshore, like a gentle greeting from the ocean, sent to the daughter who chose to walk on land but never forgot where she was born. And so, in the heart of the Gullah Geechee community, a new legend was born, not from magic, but from courage and love, the kind that could turn a mermaid into a human and a stranger into the heart of an entire village. The story of Donna closed like the moon quietly retreating behind the palm fronds, gentle yet far from fading. She had forsaken her magic, trading an entire world beneath the ocean to live fully among humans. Love had guided her, truth had been embraced, and a community once skeptical now called her by a familiar name, one of their own. But the ocean, like the heart of a distant mother, was never truly silent. It whispered in every wave, wove through the night breeze, and carried an unending call. Had Donna truly escaped her fate? Was her choice to become human truly the end, or merely the beginning of another chapter, where the old pieces never truly vanished? For sometimes the past doesn't stay behind. It quietly flows alongside us, waiting to return in a new form. And if you too feel that something remains unresolved, if you believe Donna's story isn't truly over, then perhaps the next part awaits you somewhere close, in your heart, in your imagination, or in the very moment you hit subscribe to this channel to never miss another legend. Let me know where you're watching this story from and what time it is for you. It always feels magical to see a small legend heard from different corners of the world. If you see yourself in Donna, in the yearning to belong, in the courage to live authentically, then share this story with someone else searching for themselves. Because sometimes a story told at the right moment can heal more than we imagine, and sometimes just one comment from you is the signal for part 2 to begin.